Coach Franco Says is a proud member of the Philippine Podcast Directory. Come check out the page on Facebook and listen to the amazing lineup of local podcasters this country has to offer.
Again, thank you so much for doing this. And as much as we've been talking previously, I just want you to narrate your story. As in, I'm very curious. Uh, what were you doing prior to Wushu, and how did you end up with Wushu? What was the decision behind? What was the decision behind? I have a plethora of other things that I'm probably doing, and then my life or my path ended up in Wushu.
So when I was a kid kasi, the first sport that I took up was swimming. Kasi my dad, he wanted us to learn how to swim, in case na something happens. Tapos,
Syempre,
diba, some of
okay.
yeah. So yun, I took up swimming, competitive swimming, when I was, I think I started grade 5 or 6. And then when I was mga 8 years old, my lola also enrolled me in karate, ice skating,
Stick.
tapos wushu. Yeah, so a lot
Ice
of things na
skating.
sabay-sabay.
Ang galing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yun. So
the only ice skating experience I had was in Mall of Asia. At hindi siya madali.
Yeah, it isn't. So yun, when I grew older, my parents told me na I should just choose one kasi if I try to do everything at the same time, baka hindi ako mag-excel, at any of them. So I went with wushu kasi first of all, ice skating, you have to go to a mall to actually train.
Yeah.
And then sa karate, medyo nag-disband yung kung saan ako nagte-train in karate. And then sa sa swimming, nawala lang yung passion ko. So I chose wushu. Yeah,
okay.
So yun
then
yung story.
Who introduced you to wushu? Like, how did you, what was your introduction? Who was their introduction to wushu?
It was my grandmother kasi she just passed by in Taft Avenue sa my Philippine Sports Commission in Manila. And she saw the flyer for parang a sports clinic for kids.
Okay.
Tapos yun lang, she just wanted to enroll us just to be active, alongside many of my other sports. Doon ako nag-start. Yun.
Okay. And then how was the first day of trying wushu? How was the first day of training in wushu?
Honestly, I don't remember because I was still a kid. Like I was 8 years old. Pero I do remember
8? Oh my God.
it
Tagal
was
na pala.
it was really fun for me kasi all of the kids were like tumbling, tapos like we were stretching, we were sweating it out. So yun, it was a really enjoyable sport for me. On and off ako nun from 8 years old to 12 or 13. Pagpatak ko ng 12, nag-pro na ako, like nag-junior national team na ako. So yun yung timeline ng wushu ko.
So now, speaking of wushu, like we were discussing kanina, sabi ko I only know like 2 categories of wushu. So for us idiots, like how could you define wushu, and at the same time let's break it down. Let's break it down. The categories, what do you do there? And then how are things judged in competition? So sige, let's break down the categories muna.
Okay, so in wushu kasi there are 2 categories. One is called sanda, which is the sparring or contact fighting. The other one is taolu, which is the exhibition sport. So in every martial arts, may dalawang nature. For example, taekwondo, karate. So in karate, there's kumite, and then there's the other one. So sa wushu naman, it's called sanda and taolu.
Okay.
Sa sanda, when you compete in sanda, it's by weight category. Walang regards as to height. It's always about the weight. Tapos by gender. So women on women, men on men.
Okay.
Pagdating sa taolu, it's a lot more complicated kasi there are a lot of categories under taolu. So in taolu, when you start out, you have to start out at, for example, level 1, level 2, level 3. Pagdating mo ng 18 or 19, pwede ka na mag-freestyle. Yung tawag sa freestyle is called optional. So that's the optional form where you get to now create your own form and then show it to the judges, and that's your form of competition.
Okay.
So ganun yung taolu. Yeah.
So how about
sa taolu naman?
Sige, go. I'm sorry.
They judge you. Sa taolu kasi, when the coach assigns you a certain weapon, he has to look at your movements and then your body type. So when you're long and slender, maybe you could go for spear or straight sword. Pag medyo batak ka or medyo
Stocky.
medyo wide yung stature mo. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
stocky. You could go for the staff or the
Mhm.
broadsword. So,
Mhm.
ganun lang siya. Yun.
Okay, so do
Yeah.
you just compete in one category or do you compete in both?
So, for me, I compete in bare hands and then
Mhm.
straight sword. Whereas yung mga iba kong kasama, for example, meron akong isang teammate, guy siya.
Mhm.
He competes in 4 categories kasi
Okay.
that's what the coach gave him. So, meron siyang bare
Oh,
hands,
okay.
meron siyang short weapon which is the broadsword, meron
Mhm.
siyang long weapon which is the staff, and then meron siyang
Mhm.
pang-apat na event which is it's called the duelian. It's like a choreographed na fighting form. So, hindi lang siya yung
Mm.
nag-perform. Meron siyang kasama. Yun.
Okay, so
So,
it's
yun.
like
Ganun lang
it's like a
siya.
partner thing. So the fourth one,
Yeah.
may partner ka. Tapos it's like a choreograph sequences. Okay. So like in layman's terms, Taolo is like your kata-based movements and then Sanda is your sparring-based na competition.
Yeah.
Yun yung ano niya. And then I mean, ang galing you were there like nag-junior Philippine selection ka pa pala. So how yung pa naman yung next question ko like what happened or what was the path leading you to being part of the national team selection?
So actually when 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, on and off ako. Like I didn't really see Wushu as something na I would get serious about.
Mhm.
Not until parang my parents told me nga to choose one, so I chose Wushu.
Mhm.
Tapos nung bumalik ako sa Wushu noon, kaka-off ko lang nun eh.
Mhm.
Parang nakita ko ng isang head coach na nag-wushu. Tapos, kinausap niya ako. Sabi niya, why don't you try this category? Which is my category now, which is Tai Chi. I'm like, sige, I'll give it a try. Pero hindi ko feel yung Tai Chi noon.
Tai Chi is hard!
Sabi niya, no, you have to try it. Sabi ko, okay, sige. I was a kid pa eh. So, yun. Nag-nationals ako and then I won it. Nung nanalo ako ng nationals, pinasok na nila ako sa junior national team.
Mhm.
Tapos on that same year, sinabak na nila ako sa World Junior Championship. So, straight na yun.
Okay.
Like, every year nag-compete na ako. Ganun.
Mhm.
Hanggat sa nag-16 ako, pumasok na ako sa first senior competition ko, which was World Championships.
Mhm.
Yun.
So at least ano yan,
Yeah.
like it was a good trajectory for you and ano yun for everyone's gonna listen and watch this, that's not an easy path kasi ang daming qualifiers nun for sure.
Yeah.
Hindi ko nga alam kung may wushu ba sa palarong pambansa pero at least when was your first wushu tournament, whether local or international?
Yun nga, yung first tournament ko was nationals, which was held in Dumaguete, 2012.
Okay.
That
how
was
was
the
that
first one
experience?
I went to.
How was that experience? Like going into your first wushu tournament?
It was really nerve-wracking for me kasi first of all, I knew it in myself na I wasn't good at wushu at that time.
Mhm.
Tapos like, ang dami kong nakakitang teams na super galing nila. So parang I was just like stuck in the middle of parang telling myself, should I really compete? Tapos should I not? Ganun. Pero I just pushed through it, just to end everything. Tapos yun, I won it. Tapos dun na ako kinuha for junior team.
Okay.
So dun na nag-start, yeah.
So then all of this was happening while you were studying. So graduate ka na ba ng college? Graduate ka na sigurado ngayon?
Yeah.
Okay, so by that time, so while being in college, were you still training? Were you still competing while you were studying in college?
Yeah, so ever since nag-pro ako sa Wushu noong 2012, I never stopped.
Okay.
Even if I started college, during college, tapos after college, like tuloy-tuloy lang siya.
So how were you able to balance that, like college life and athlete life? Diba? Especially you're part of the national team.
I think I just derived it from parang my mindset from high school kasi actually high school and college, it's very different, right? In high school, you don't really get to choose your classes.
Yep.
Pero pagdating ko sa college, it was a bit trickier kasi I met a lot of people Tapos, I had all this free time.
Mhm.
And then, parang I had to balance my social life. And then, I had to balance college, which is academics. And then, I had to balance Wushu.
Mhm.
You can't really balance all three, to be
Yes,
honest.
that's true.
Yeah,
Someone's
you
gotta
can't
give.
balance all three. Yeah. So, yung binigay ko was my
Social life.
Yeah.
Pareho.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
often than not naman talaga, that's the sacrifice talaga that athletes make, or people who are going. I mean, ito yun eh. Like for example, me, I've missed so many parties. I've missed so many occasional stuff. Ang dami kong ring utang na debuts, birthday parties,
Yeah.
simply because I had to attend like a local competition or an international tournament. Wala eh. You just have to make a decision talaga. You have to make a choice. You have to make a lot of sacrifices simply because wala, you have a goal eh. You're gunning after this tournament and you have to take it really seriously. So wala.
Yeah,
Kasi
that's
ako rin
true.
naman kasi inang katwiran ko rin naman sa sarili ko noon. Kung totoong kaibigan ko sila, hindi naman mawawala yan eh. Most, if not majority of my barkada talaga were my teammates. Kasi nga, we all grew up in the same industry. We all grew up in the gym.
Yeah, naman.
So parang wala. Kami rin, sabi ko, ito rin pala yung mga default na kasama ko eh. So, pero I still have a lot of friends outside the combat sports industry. So, yun. So, if sobrang pag off-season, dun lang ako talaga nakakalabas eh. Dun lang ako. That's the, when I was telling my students, like when I was really competing, like ano ba to, like 2007 hanggang 2013, yung calendar ko was just tournaments. So
Yeah.
2000, so sa tagal na yon, sabi ko nga sila, believe it or not, 2014 was the very first time in a long time that I took a vacation. Sabi ko, so minsan there was a part of me na ganito pala yung feeling nung nagbabakasyon. Sabi ko, ganito pala yung feeling. Ganito pala yung feeling nung nagbabakasyon, wala akong ginagawa. Ganitong oras dapat nasa gym na ako, pero wala, nasa beach ako.
Yeah.
So, pwede naman pala, masaya naman pala siya gawin. So at least yun. Now, in relation to that, I mean, ako, to be honest, hindi ko kaya yung ginawa mo. Hindi ko kaya yung pagbalansehin yung national athlete life with my
Practice
student
lang.
life. And then, so with that, coming off from that, like walk us through like what's a day in the life back then. Like let's go college level. What was your schedule? Like class muna, then training, or training in the morning, class, then training in the afternoon. Like how was it like?
So parang when I started it, I was in a block kasi I'm from Benilde.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
always start in a block. I didn't want to change my schedule. I didn't want to parang withdraw any subjects or drop any subjects. So what I did was nung freshman ako hanggang sophomore, I just stuck with my schedule. So I always trained like once a day lang. Kasi
Okay.
wala eh, like sobrang dami kong units when I was doing the first 6 terms in
Normally
Benilde.
full load yan, full load.
Yeah,
Doon ako-
always full load.
Pareho pala kaming
Yeah.
lasalista, mga kaibigan. So,
Yeah. So yun. And then pagdating ko siguro ng 6th sem until the last one, dun ko
Okay.
na change yung yung load
schedule
ko.
mo.
Pero
Oo.
I still had the full load. I just changed like the times and the classes.
Mhm.
So hindi ko na nakasabay yung mga batchmates ko, pero
Yep.
I still graduated on time. So nung first to second year ako, once a day ako nagte-training, but I still went to competitions. And then
Mhm.
in the ending of my second year to graduation, I was training twice a day. So training first, class, and then lunch, and then training. Tapos yun, and then class again sometimes, 6 to 9 p.m. Ganun lang siya.
Wow.
Yeah, like, kasi meron ako mga ibang subjects, talagang once a week siya, tapos 3 hours siya. So I have to make it to
okay.
the night class.
Okay.
Yeah, so ganun
Okay.
lang. Yun, ganun. Ganun yung schedule ko.
Anong schedule yan? Kung ako yun, tulog na ako dun sa 6 to 9 na 6 to 9 na klase.
I know.
Struggle na siya, struggle na. Okay, now,
I know.
and then from there, you were still competing, and then, syempre, there were so many things that's happening in your life, especially in that block of years that it was happening. How were you compartmentalizing everything? Like, of course, people will say na time management lang yan. Hindi. It's not just time management. It's how are you putting focus on when it's time to train, I have to train. When I'm training, my mind and my body has to be here. And at the same time, when I'm in class, I have to be there as well. Kasi for sure, how this conversation is shaping up, there's so many things that's overlapping eh. 'Di ba? Kasi kahit ako, noong time noon, when I was competing, nasa office ako pero iniisip ko jiu-jitsu. So parang, 'di ba?
Yeah.
What is the thought processing for that? How were you able to compartmentalize everything?
Well, actually, to be honest, every day naman, it isn't going to be, that proper.
Yes.
Parang when you're in class lang yung isipin mo. When you're in training lang isipin mo. You just have to go through each day slowly, and you have to also accept the fact na you're not always gonna do good on each day. Pero the importance of it is you go through each day, parang just doing your best, kahit na nasa class ka tapos yung iniisip mo jiu-jitsu or wushu, it's fine as long as you don't fail the class, right? Just do everything. Like ganun lang. Pero syempre wag mong pabayaan yung academics mo, wag mong pabayaan yung sports mo. We always have to find the balance. Parang it's always like that eh. It's never like that, right? So yun lang yun. Ganun lang yung mindset mo mo dapat.
And then from there, how is the physical preparation for like ngayon walang tournament, okay? So you're not preparing, like you're probably preparing for something in the next few months pa. So what are the stages of your training? Like how is training during the off season? How is the training preparing for a tournament? So sa off season muna tayo.
Okay. So, kasi, yung parang off-season namin is usually Christmas and January, which is New Year's. February to November, we just train like a normal day. Maski na walang competition, maski na isa lang competition man international or dalawa or apat or lima, we still train. So, parang yung off-season namin is basically vacation, So, yun. Yung vacation namin lasts for like 2 weeks to 3 weeks, laging December to January. Nothing more, nothing less. Tapos yun, ganun lang siya. February to November, everyday training. Tapos yun, kahit na may bagyo, kahit na may holiday, kahit na Holy Week, may training pa rin.
Hassle yun, kahit may bagyo. Kasi bumabaha po sa Taft Avenue kasi. So,
I know.
medyo, tsaka tumataas po yung presyo ng mga padjak boys doon pagka baha.
Yes.
Now, walk us through like a typical training session. Like what happens? I'm very curious. Like for example, in Wushu, like for obvious reasons, there's like a warm up, a proper and an ending. Pero like walk us through it. Anong like what do you guys normally do? Is there a specific day for like freehand? Is there a specific day for weapons training?
So every day we always start the session. Syempre warm up, so like stretching, ganito ganyan. And then, yung pang warm-up namin, yung parang papawis, it's either we jog, we play soccer, or parang any game na parang they come up with, like my teammates come up with. So, sumasali lang ako ganun.
Okay.
Or minsan, if ayaw mo maglaro, ayaw mo mag-jogging, pwede ka na mag-stretch like kaagad. It's just on your own responsibility if ma-injure ka kaagad. So, ganun lang. So, so when we stretch sa Wushu, we stretch like really, really well. As in, I'm talking about over splits, center splits, parang, yung parang spider, yung when you, like, on your back.
Naka-backbend ka. Yung parang naka-backbend.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. Yeah. Kasi, in Wushu kasi, we always have to stretch well. If you don't, you are on your way to injury. Like you're leading your way to injury. So yun. So when we're all like very, very flexible, we start with the kicks. So sa Wushu kasi, yung kicks namin, it's not like other contact sports na pak, ganun. It's like pag ganun siya. Like on my Instagram, I have a video like of me kicking a water bottle.
Kicking a water bottle.
Yeah.
Tinry ko siya, masakit. Sabi ko, hindi ko abot yan.
On your own risk. Yeah, so that's one of the basics of Wushu. So, when you kick, front kick, and then side kick, and then yung tinatawag namin crescent kick, palabas, and then paloob, and then the slap kick.
Okay.
So yun, we do like a combo of that, like 7 to 8 times. And by that time, we start mga 4 p.m. kumare. By that time,
Mhm.
mga 5:30 na or 5 o'clock, we start
Mhm.
on the jumps. So
Okay.
when you do the jumps, it's a completely different thing kasi you can actually get injured if you don't do the jumps correctly. So
Yep,
you have
that's
to
true.
really be conscious about doing them.
Mhm.
So yun, after that, 5 to 6, pagdating ng 6, nagpo-forms na kami.
Okay.
So yung forms namin, when I do my form, yung buong form, we call it a hole. So
Mm.
when the coach says, okay, do 8 holes, that's 8 times of the whole form. And
Okay.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
Kasi even though it's like 2 to 3 minutes of a whole form, it really takes a toll on your legs, your
Mhm.
arms,
Yep.
basta everything, your energy. So, ganun lang siya. Tapos, kapag may time pa, we usually finish at 7 or 7:30 or 8,
Mhm.
nagko-conditioning kami.
Okay.
So, 4 to 7:30 or 8, ganun yung isang session sa Wushu. Pagdating sa morning, it's 8:30 to 11.
Hmm.
Ganun lang. Yeah.
So ano to? So everything is predetermined na, or it really depends on what your coach wants to work on for that particular day?
Ganun talaga siya. Pero
Mhm.
except on Wednesday or Thursdays, we go running sa track,
Mhm.
sa ano. So that day is for strengthening and also cardio.
Mhm.
So, Wednesday or Thursday, ganun lang.
Okay. And then like in terms of training, and definitely this is something that I've always asked high level athletes and fighters. How important is I'm not really sure how it applies to wushu, but how important is doing a lot of repetitions and a lot of drilling towards the mastery of a particular routine or a technique for you?
Very important.
Mhm.
Highly important.
Highly
It's a
important.
priority.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
and then from there,
Kasi,
which do you prefer? Doing things at an optimal speed or doing things at a very slow pace?
you have to do, first of all, kasi when you want to do things parang quickly,
Mm-hmm.
tapos hindi tama yung form mo, hindi tama yung parang corrections na binibigay sa'yo, it's
Mm-hmm.
ineffective then. It's not efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you have to do things painfully slow, you have to do them correctly. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure if you're trying to like finish, kumari, you're trying to finish a set of 5, you have to do every single exercise correctly. And then within your conscious mind. Ganun siya.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi pagdating mo dun sa point na parang it's parang a habit na, you cannot break a habit in sports. For
Yep.
example, nakabend yung kamay ko, I'm not, like, hindi ako conscious, pero ganito talaga siya. Pero yung correction ng coach, ganito.
Mm-hmm.
So, yun, it's really important lang to build habits based on the correct pointers of the coach.
Yeah, I always ask that question because I want to get the message across na ako admittedly, and I always tell, I'm very open about this, na parang ako, repetition is the most boring part of training, pero it's the most
Yeah,
necessary
for
part
sure.
of training. Like, it's the most necessary part of training. I especially now I had a better appreciation of things when I started teaching, when I started coaching fighters. Na doon ko mas nakita yung value ng repetition and drilling more than the actual sparring. Kasi
Yeah.
and then as the years of teaching progressed, and I was reading a lot of literature from different high level coaches, doon ko nakita majority of them talagang they put value on doing things really really slow, especially when kaya rin siguro kakaiba yung ibang fighters who go under my camp. They have a different experience kasi, for example, uh from the striking component, I make them shadow box at a very very like super slow speed.
Yeah.
And nasana yung
Yeah.
mga, especially boxers and Muay Thai fighters, when you say shadow boxing, lahat yan mag all out, lahat yan kunyari
Mm-mm.
mabilis sila. It's easy for them to do. And then I suddenly flipped everything and I said, okay, I want you to do things in a very 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 slow manner. Do it in front of a mirror, and then gawin mo siya na sobrang bagal. Then they realized na it put more strain on their muscles. It was harder to balance
Yeah.
their body. I mean,
Exactly.
the yung response rate nila was totally different from what they were used to. Sabi ko,
Yeah.
I'm making you guys do this because this was how I trained. Sabi ko, these are the things that I learned during training, na you can do everything in a very quick manner. It just so happens kasi na when you do things quick, that doesn't mean that you're doing things right. So yun
Yeah.
yung so yan, especially when I do like seminars, sinasabi ko I don't need you guys to do this quickly. I need you guys to do this correctly. Kasi at the end of the day, kung mali naman yung ginagawa mo, wala siyang silbi, di ba? Wala siyang kwenta actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Pwede mo siyang itapon sa labas, di ba? Pero I love the conscious mind quote. Sige, gagamitin ko na siya from now on. You do everything with your
Yeah, of course.
kasi that's exactly what people have to do. You really have to be mindful of what you're doing. Kasi if you're not mindful, you're just going through the motions, makakalimutan mo talaga siya. So I mean
So
that's a very very nice thing to say, and at least for everyone who's gonna watch and listen to this, they're gonna learn from it. How about strength and conditioning? Do you guys have a pre-planned or meron nang nagsasabi sa inyo on what to do for your strength and conditioning?
It depends on the mood of the coach. Like,
Mhm.
siya naman yung nagbibigay ng program, so it depends on
Okay.
him. Pero usually sa Wushu, it's like, we do it like, we do like heavy weights.
Mhm.
Especially the guys, kasi they need
Mm.
it for like the high jumps and like the
Mhm.
leg strength.
Mhm.
And then we do like, how do you call it? Like isolated exercises.
Yeah.
Like to just like build like small muscles, like
Yeah.
develop their strength, their
Yeah.
endurance, ganun. So,
Okay.
ganun lang naman siya. Yeah.
And then ikaw, what do you do for your recovery?
Ako, ever since I got injured with my back, I haven't been doing any heavy weights kasi it's really bawal na
Mhm.
if you have my condition. What the coach makes me do is a lot of isolated exercises that focuses
Mhm.
on my legs, like for balance. Kasi dun sa
Mhm.
form ko, I have to balance like a lot.
Yeah.
So
Fuck
that's
yeah.
what he
Nakita
makes
ko
me
yung routine
do.
mo. I was like, whoa, paano yung ginawa yun?
Yeah, yun, ganun lang siya. And then also dun sa upper body, pero
Mhm.
he tries not to build my upper body too much kasi kapag naging medyo bruise ko, it makes me look like this, and that's
Mhm.
bawal sa
Oo.
category ko. Dapat
Okay.
very relaxed lang.
Okay.
Lahat ng
Yes.
power nasa legs. Yeah,
Mhm.
ganun lang.
Okay. So at least different. That's another common question I ask a lot of athletes. Kasi just to prove the point that there are specific things that needs to be done for a specific sport. Parang
Yeah,
there's no one size fits all na regimen for any sport, lalo na combat sports. Kaya ako
so true.
dynamic movements kami, so I got rid of all linear movements na exercises. A lot of the things I do, when people look into it, parang nagulat sila. It's super simple, it's super easy, and you don't really need too much weight for it. And then for now, competition tayo, like your competitive version. Like, walk us through what goes through your mind going through a tournament. Like, walk through tayo, heading to the venue. And then when you get to the venue, what are the things that you look out for?
Heading to the venue, I can be really quiet, pero that's
Mhm.
bad for me kasi I need to like talk to teammates or like friends from other
Okay.
countries.
Okay.
Yeah, just to like just to probably control parang my nervousness and then
Mhm.
my anxiousness. So yun, on the way sa venue, it's either I listen to music or parang just like talk with people, have a
Mhm.
little laugh, ganun. Kasi
Mhm.
when you think about it, people usually put so much stress on parang the result of the competition, parang they have to like be in their tip-top shape. Pero
Mhm.
it's also important to know na as long as you did your best and you didn't give any less, like to me that's enough na.
Mhm.
Like kunwari, if I get bronze or silver or if I do last place, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter to me yung results. It
Mhm.
matters na I did my best and there's still next year, there's still next time.
Mhm.
Ganun lang yung mindset ko nun.
Yeah.
So, feeling ko for me, that works a lot better than parang giving off expectations na, okay, I'm gonna get this place, I want this place, I want this rank. Tapos not getting it, parang I beat myself up about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, ganun lang. Ganun lang yung mindset ko usually.
Mhm. That's good kasi
Yun.
so far through the conversations that I had, whether in this podcast or in so many tournaments na sinalihan and I coached in, parang papansin ko there are like two kinds of fighters. One is he wants everything to be quiet. Yung parang
Yeah.
he shuts up. He wants everyone to shut up. Okay. Then the other kind is your kind. There are a lot of high level fighters. Like if you look, I for sure, sana if you look into their names, yeah, si Fedor Emelianenko, Nick Diaz, George St. Pierre, even Manny Pacquiao, they want people to be around them. They want to
Yeah.
converse. Some of them talaga, they even play cards inside the locker room. So more or less,
Yeah.
yan yung wala pa ako na-encounter na ibang pag-handle ng situation. Ako when I competed, nandun din ako eh. I'm like I have to talk to someone. I have to at least when I get to the venue, I know the essentials. Where's the changing room? Where's the warm up area? Where's the nearest bathroom? Kasi
Mm-mm.
I mean, can you describe like what goes on in a wushu competition? Like what is the atmosphere?
Um, like kasi sa isang wushu venue, the ceiling has to be really high.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's a really really big compound. Tapos like
Mhm.
makikita mo there's like just two rugs there.
Mhm.
Very flat. Tapos there's the judges table. So
Yeah.
parang when you go in, it's like you feel so small. And
Yeah.
parang usually, ang dami kong nakakita na athletes na super, super natatakot na sila. Like, I can feel it eh. Like, their
Yep.
aura,
Yep.
like what they're trying to like they're trying to show.
Mhm.
Tapos I try to calm myself down kasi I know that everyone feels the same way as I do. So parang
Mhm.
there's no difference. So
Nice.
yun,
Okay.
ganun lang.
Yan. Kasi ako admittedly, siguro hanggang ngayon, I've competed so many times, but every time I go to a tournament, kinakabahan pa rin ako.
Yeah,
Since
yeah,
I'll always be
pretty
nervous.
normal.
And then my
Yeah,
coach, his name is Alvin Aguilar, he just said he will always just remind me na going to tournaments is just like any other day in the gym. You just have to put
yeah.
a little bit more attention. You just have to pay a little bit more attention. I think that's a quote from this guy. His name is Henzo Gracie. So ayun, that was the particular mindset, especially when you go to any MMA or jiu-jitsu tournament. The venue is so nice. Pagpasok mo, parang mafe-feel mo na kagad everyone's gauging you, and yun din, it's the same thing. It's the same thing like how you describe it. People are projecting. People will even eye you, they will trash talk you,
Yeah,
di ba? As in, there is a lot of sizing up going on in jiu-jitsu and MMA tournaments. As in, lahat ata
yeah.
ng pwedeng mamatahin ka. Okay, so, I mean, these are just, these are like peacocking moves, especially for the guys, just to show you that they're not afraid or they're trying to mask their
Mm-mm.
anxiety by posturing or by like projecting an image. So at least now we see that at least yan, yung mga competitive arenas, yung mga competition areas, they more or less have the same complexities and yung ano niya, yung makeup niya halos pare-pareho. So another question I want to ask is like, do you remember the day na your first tournament where you lost?
Was I like I felt lost?
No. You lost the tournament. As in, natalo ka.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Lahat tayo
Yeah,
lost.
yeah.
Kahit ako, lost ako araw-araw.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I've had a lot of losses then.
Like the very
I
first
think,
one, how you felt the very
yeah.
first time you lost.
When I first lost like a competition, it was a junior world championship. I was last
Mhm.
place.
Okay.
And parang when I learned that I was last place, parang I didn't really think any of it. Kasi I know, like, nakikita ko pa lang sarili ko nagpe-perform. Alam ko na sobrang layo ko pa sa level ng gold, silver, bronze, fourth, and fifth. So parang I didn't really beat up myself about it. I was just sad, I guess. Pero like, alam ko na this won't be the first time. And this won't be the last time.
Mhm.
So yun, I actually, it took me 3 years before I won a competition. And it's not even
Wow.
gold, it was like a bronze. So yun,
Okay, and
ganun
then
lang.
about yung follow-up ko dyan is, did you join any tournament wherein you felt good, you felt confident, and then it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to be? Like especially when, I mean, ako never mind, wala akong pakialam sa expectations ng ibang tao. People will always have expectations of you. Pero ikaw, on your own, like for example, you felt good coming into this tournament. Na you know that you're gonna place, you feel good, kumbaga, then wala, natalo ka, or you didn't even place.
Yeah, I did have one in particular.
Mm-hmm.
It was parang my last competition as a junior. So when you're a junior kasi, that's 18 years old and below.
Yeah.
Pagdating mo ng 19, hindi ka na pwede pumasok sa junior worlds. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my last competition as a junior. And
Mm-hmm.
parang everyone was expecting me at least like a gold.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos sa sobrang dami nagsasabi sa akin. That was the first time I experienced like pressure from a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. Kasi
Mm-hmm.
usually nobody really no, wala namang masyadong pumapansin sa akin. Pero
Mm.
since at that time I've won some senior competitions na, you would think na pagdating ko sa junior worlds,
Mm.
it would be like easy peasy na. Pero
Mm-hmm.
I did well naman, pero it wasn't enough to get me in the top 3. I was always fourth dun sa
Mm.
sa events ko. And everyone was so disappointed. Tapos like, it was just like one of those regrets sa akin na parang, I wonder what went wrong. Pero
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really stop me from parang just moving on with my life. Kasi, at least I went to the competition. At least I gave my best. At least I didn't make a mistake sa form ko.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was like an overall average and good experience na.
Kasi ano yan eh, there are so many things that athletes go through, both physically, mentally, and
Yeah.
emotionally. They already have to do their best to balance their training with living a normal life. Pero at the
Yeah.
same time, yun nga, you have to meet, ako, I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, pero ako kasi, I reached a point where I just stopped caring about what people think of me or what people expect
Yeah.
of me. Kasi it kind of weighed in on my head a little bit. Na parang, especially when I was progressing and there was a time na nakakatuwa nga medyo, teka lang, side note at least ikaw sinabi mo 3 years bago ka nanalo ng kahit na ano. Ako, there was a time, may isang taon ako eh. I had a 1 year, I was
Oh
a
yeah,
blue
yeah.
belt. It's called a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Lahat ng sinalihan ko, I shit you not, lahat ng sinalihan ko, talo ako first match. Ang jiu-jitsu matches kasi ladder eh. So so depende kung ilan kayo. So for example, you could
Mm-mm.
be 3, you could be
Yeah.
50. So ladder tournament siya. There was just 1 year nung I was promoted, and then when I was promoted, eto na, I was younger and people were already saying you're gonna crash it in that division, ganyan ganyan ganyan. It kind of got into my head. Pero I was still training. Then that year, kasi lahat na sinalihan ko, first match, talo ako. Kasi hindi lang yung talo, parang binaboy ako. Like either binaboy ako, I
Yeah.
got submitted, or tambak ako sa points. So parang
Yeah.
after that year, I was like, yun na, parang, that was like, I call it the crash, wherein you start to question a lot of things. You start to question,
Yeah.
did I really deserve this promotion? Do I really belong in this bracket? Did I really belong in this division? Or it's always that, pero kahit naman sinasabi ng mga tao, it's always the top guys who are beating you. Pero ako rin naman, yun na nga eh, I always end up matching against them and I always end up getting beaten eh. So hanggang dun na lang ba ako?
Mm-mm.
Diba? I went through that stage na parang hanggang dun na lang ba ako? So, I mean, I'm super happy that I got over it, and I practically did the same thing na parang I just shifted na lang how I would look at things na parang okay, doesn't matter na lang. I'll just go there, do my best, and then go home. Because at the end of the day, I love that quote that I use the same thing. There's always a next one. There's
Yeah.
always a next one. Diba? You beat me today, I'm gonna gun after you in the next one. Diba? You better be more than prepared because now I remember all your sequences. I remember all your nuances. I'm gonna go after you. So at least these are the things that people go through, like fighters go through, and it's no different. Now for this one, you can answer it or not. Kasi ako
Okay.
share. What's the curb, or how do you curb the athlete life with the normal or your real life? Kasi
Mm,
ano siya eh,
yeah.
for sure you have spent more time in the gym, you spend more time with athletes, and the only free time that you get, it's either you compartmentalize it. You have to spend it with your family, a little bit with your friends, but at the same time you have to spend time with yourself. Like how is the curve on
Yeah.
that one? Ako sasabihin ko lang ngayon, mahirap siya. So ikaw, what's your story in that?
Yeah, no joke. Actually, ano naman like, lahat ng national athletes na kilala ko, like friends,
Mhm.
it's really not easy talaga to like try to balance like your career as an athlete and also your personal life, which includes your friends, your family, diba? And having time for yourself. So parang ako, I think of it na lang as, I know naman na I love Wushu. So every time I just train, parang, I don't know, like, I'm happy lang when I train. So pagdating ko, when I spend time with my family, you know, it's more than enough for me kahit once a week. If I go out with friends, it's more than enough for me kahit once every 2 months, gano'n. Kasi it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all kasi alam ko na if I, like, even if I leave for a long time, pagbalik ko, nandyan pa rin sila. So, yun.
That is a beautiful thing. Now, deeper into that, like, are there any differences, or do you end up comparing the things, your belief system versus the belief system of the people around you? Like, for example, ako, I basically grew up in the hurt business. So when people talk about violence, parang sila shock na shock sila. Ako parang, okay, para sa inyo, mahirap na yon. Parang ako, buhay ko to everyday. So, and then in terms of like, kasi yun din yung something na kailangan kong I had to accept that as well na wala eh. Iba yung understanding ko based on my environment and the people that I'm around with all the time compared to yung like, for example, I always hang out with fighters. I always hang out with athletes. So, yung conversations namin, yung banter namin, the humor, kumbaga, kung mag-asaran kami, lampas kaluluwa. So, I can't be like that with my other friends. Kasi you have to be, parang mag-iingat ka ng konti kasi isipin mo, tangina, baka maya ma-offend to, di ba?
Yeah, of course.
And then at the same time, you have to understand that they're not going through the things that you're going through, and their level of hardship is totally different from your level of hardship. So parang do you balance it out, or how do you deal with it?
I think I think that's one of the factors that would make people like very down to earth kasi as athletes or as any other person who excels in a certain field, be it culinary, economics, sports, any field at all we have to do is try to understand, the people around us. Kasi we know that each and every one of us goes through a different thing, like a different journey. So parang for me as a friend and as like a student, I couldn't really talk about my sport. Kasi first of all, Wushu isn't really well known in the Philippines. Yeah, it isn't well known. I think kasi it also reflects on me na parang I'm a quiet person then when I'm out with friends, ganun. So parang talking about my sport is very, very rare, especially with my friends and especially with people who don't do Wushu. So parang that, I think that's one of the factors that parang makes me. Kasi parang when people like look at me, I don't really look like an athlete. Tapos when they ask me what sport, I tell them Wushu. Hindi pa rin nila alam kung ano yung Wushu. I think that's the beauty of parang me. Like the beauty of my sport is that people don't expect you to look much like an athlete, pero you are an athlete and you're representing the country and you're like a top-ranked athlete and people don't know that about you. I think that's the beauty of curiosity then. And that's the beauty of like discovering who I really am. So, yeah.
Kahit ako, like, when I go out, tapos yung mga blockmates ko o kaya mga barkada yung kasama ko, no fight talk because I know din naman na they won't understand.
Yeah.
Wag na.
That's so true.
Saka mahirap mag-explain. Lalo na pag nag-explain ka, parang lahat sila, isn't that like kind of violent? I'm like, no, it's not. And to add to that, how do you think is the role of martial arts training and martial arts in general in terms of the best way to control your ego?
Para sa akin kasi ang laki nung na shape na parang mindset ko around everything is because of Wushu. Especially, for example, if I get offended, or like, for example, when people belittle my sport, I just try to understand them. Because there's no point in trying to argue with someone who doesn't know what you know, right?
100%.
Yeah, so parang ako, I just let my actions speak louder, kasi words are so empty, especially in the world of sports. They won't believe you unless you're top ranked. They won't believe you unless nanalo ka. They won't believe you unless you have medals behind your back.
Oh my
So
God, that is
parang
so
ako,
true. Okay.
yeah, so like pagdating mo dun sa level na yun na parang, for example, winning SEA Games, becoming a world champion, and people start to hear about you. You don't have to
Yep.
talk your way out of it, right?
Yep.
People would just like recognize you, and then they would be like, "Diba ikaw si ganito ganyan, yung nanalo ng ganito ganyan."
Yep.
And like parang you're just gonna reflect on that moment na parang that time na parang people didn't know about you, people didn't know about your sport, people think that it's not a sport, 'di ba? Parang you just let it die na lang. Kasi that's the best that you can do, right? So, yun.
So now, speaking of that, ano ngayon yung difference between you going to the gym alone, training, trying to make sense of everything that you're doing, but you're doing it because it makes you happy, versus now getting all these accomplishments and then getting this level of attention. So, like, how would you define or like compare those two things, and then how are you handling it?
I think I liked it better when I was still training hard for something na I didn't really knew what I was gonna accomplish. Kasi as an athlete, even as a person, I never really set any expectation for myself. Like every time na magko-compete ako, every competition, I always say to myself, parang wala akong ine-expect na makuha ko. So especially the SEA Games, even though everyone was like, you should get this, we think you're gonna get this. I tried to tell myself na as long as you do your best, that's enough for yourself. So, when I got all of this attention, parang I liked it better when I was still struggling,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
true.
why, pero yeah, I liked it better when I was still struggling kasi parang when you win, feeling mo na parang people just focus on the win.
Yep.
They don't really know na parang after you win, there's still another competition after that. What happens if you flop in the next competition? Diba?
Yep.
So, parang ako, I just try to approach parang people knowing me in the most proper manner that I can. Na parang, just being polite and like trying to just be down to earth. Kasi every day, your sport is changing. Every day, yung kalaban mo lumalakas. Every day, sometimes hindi ka lumalakas. So you always have to keep that in mind lang. Yeah.
And then, tawag dito, nawala ako dun sa sinabi mo kasi ang ganda nun eh. Sabi ko, kasi we all went through this, you all go through the same thing, and at least ayan, I particularly say something like that dun sa mga, usually mga bago, tawag namin dun yung mga white belts. So yeah, we always tell them na you always have to work in silence. I mean, when do you think people, lalo yung mga gusto mag-compete kagad, yan, yung mga kating-kating mag-compete dahil meron silang gustong patunayan sa buhay nila na hindi namin alam. Sabi ko madali lahat yan. Pero once everyone starts gunning after you, it's a totally different
Yeah, it's so different. It's really hard. It's harder.
Diba? It's definitely harder. Sabi ko, do you think like for example, when ako kasi teammate ko yung kapatid ko, sabi ko, there's a difference between when we compete versus that other guy right there who's just about to debut. Sabi ko, everyone's gunning after us. Sabi ko, everyone's gunning after us. And kami rin naman, we're gunning after the big boys. So, the longer you do this, the bigger target you become. So, ikaw, like, do you feel like you're a bigger target now? Because you've won SEA Games like twice na, di ba? Tama ba?
Yeah, twice na.
Di ba? So, then, since you're being gunned after by other competitors, who are you going after now?
Actually, wala naman akong parang goal. Yun nga yung in-explain ko kanina. Like, wala akong goal na sino yung tatalunin ko. Like, yung goal ko lang talaga is every time I compete, I I try to do it with little to no mistakes.
Mhm.
Kasi that's the best part, like
Mhm.
when you train, you have room for error eh. Pero pagdating mo sa competition, for me, nape-pressure ko lang sarili ko kasi I just really wanna do my best and I just really like wanna do like a good form.
Mhm.
Like no mistakes, no error, as little error as possible.
Mhm.
Ganun. So after ng SEA Games win ko, I knew na everyone was gonna like come for me sa Vietnam in 2020,
Yeah.
2021.
For sure, yeah.
And I try not to like think about that kasi alam ko like as of right now, all of the sea countries, they're already training and I'm still stuck at home kasi because of this pandemic. Pero you can't help it eh. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
All you have to do is, I just try to like train every day. I just try to like parang respect the fact na I won't always stay at the top. I have to like go through the bottom and then in the middle and then to the top again. Ganun lang yung process ng sports eh.
Yep, that is very true. And then one of the main reasons why I wanted to have her over is so that we could talk about Wushu, and hopefully this will increase awareness for Wushu. Like ikaw, how would you want the progression of this sport? Like how many ilan ba ang like total pool ng Wushu fighters natin, Wushu competitors natin sa Pilipinas? And then are you going to use this like attention now to increase awareness for Wushu?
So ever since I won SEA Games last year, nag-increase talaga yung name ng Wushu. And parang that's one of my advocacies then is to promote my sport kasi I want it to be as well known as other sports. Kasi when sometimes people forget nga my sport, they always ask me, wait, di ba ikaw yung sa taekwondo? Ikaw yung sa karate? They never mention Wushu. So parang one of my goals is like when people like ask other people who say martial arts, I want them to ask, ikaw ba yung sa Wushu? Do you do Wushu? Hindi yung ibang sport. Like that's one of my advocacies, like a little goal in mind of mine. So yun.
I know, just ko like kasi kami sa jiu-jitsu naman, there's like two categories. It's the one with the gi and then there's no gi. So sa gi, we wear this kimono type. Para siyang pan-judo, only a little bit smaller. Yan, favorite namin yan. So it's every time we have to bring our gis to the laundry pagbabalik. Lahat na ata ng martial arts narinig ko na. Oh, yung pang taekwondo, ilabas mo na. Oh, yung pang judo, ilabas mo na. Yung isa naman. Oh, yung pang kung fu, yung damit niya pang kung fu, ilabas mo na. Sabi ko, dati kinokorek ko pa siya eh. Ngayon, pinapabayaan ko na lang kasi nakasulat pa doon sa karate uniform. Tapos kami pipicture na lang, pagtatawanan na lang namin siya eh. So, I mean, I'm very happy that people will definitely look into this because at the end of the day, people love winners. People love, like they adore people who do things at a high level, and it's so good na you are being the ambassador for Wushu in the Philippines. So at least it will not only increase awareness. Yung ano na yan, I mean, this is a very good sign for Philippine sports that there are a lot of other sports that we can excel. There are a lot of other sports that we can be really, really good at and do at a high level. And Wushu is definitely up there. So, Agatha Wong, thank you so much for doing this. Let's wrap this up. Where can people find you and follow you, please?
Yeah, so I have IG and Twitter and Facebook. On IG and Twitter, my username is Agatha Wong with a Y. So it's parang pronounced as Agatha Wongy because it's my nickname. Okay. And then on Facebook, people can search Agatha F. Wong. That's my middle name. Yeah.
Okay. Agatha Wong, SEA Games gold medalist and complete badass. Thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it. And with that's what Coach Franco says. Bye-bye.
Coach Franco Says would like to thank the following sponsors for making this episode possible.
Just be in the moment. Have that faceless emotion. Beware the robot face. I am Nuts and Crosses. Place your orders on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Community and culture. Just good vibes in the local jiu-jitsu scene. Visit Ikiro Collective at ikiro.ph. Simply Better Dentistry. Designer mouth guards and the best dental service in the heart of Makati. Visit the Santos Dental Group and Oral Surgery Center. Book an appointment on their Facebook page. Beat bacteria and viruses. Get Nano Silver Immune Support Supplement. Order your bottles on their Facebook and Instagram pages. For local martial arts news here in the Philippines, visit Local MMA on Facebook and listen to one of my favorite podcasts, Destroy MNL. My life is all about providing value and helping others achieve their goals. Please help me make more podcast episodes, video tutorials, and educational content that will benefit everybody. Support this channel by clicking the link in the description box. Thank you for your support, and I will keep making content that matters. This is all for the community and increasing awareness about the benefits of martial arts. So that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode and as much as I enjoyed making it. Agatha's amazing. I wish her all the best, and I hope we can do this podcast again. So, see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.